chanced upon it, and I thought I'd take lots of pictures, which I did, and some of them turned out all right. And I've got it in my study to remind me, and you can all have a look at it in a bit more detail, and you can see. So that's the fen orchid, a 1 in 10,000 chance maybe.
Yeah.
1 in 10,000 chance, or more. Easier to find now than it was then because of their management processes. It reminded me of a verse from the Bible. You see, to the botanist, this was the real deal. You know, it's like to the rugby player, your grandson playing for Wales. It's the real deal, isn't it? To the botanist. And this is the verse in the Bible that came to mind as I was thinking about finding this rare plant. And not just a rare plant, a great specimen of a rare plant. My beloved is radiant and ruddy, distinguished among 10,000. Distinguished among 10,000. And what it's talking about in that song, it's a love song. So it's not talking about flowers. They're here today and gone tomorrow and root and all the rest of it. It's talking about a relationship between a betrothed couple, husband to be and wife to be. And I've got some different translations. You can see more or less how they translate it. My beloved is radiant and ruddy. Well, that's a word we don't tend to use in a good context nowadays. Distinguished among 10,000. Or maybe this version. He is handsome and healthy. Come on. You know what I mean. The most outstanding among 10,000. Or this version. My beloved is exquisitely handsome and ruddy. Outstanding among 10,000. Or perhaps this version. You can see what the writer's doing, can't you? You can see what the versions are doing. They're trying to capture exactly the feeling here. My lover is handsome. My lover is handsome and strong. He is 1 in 10,000. If you've ever found love, worked at love, this is the prose of love. The writer is writing a poem, and the poem is talking in such terms about this relationship. But he's not really saying, well, 1 in 10,000, you know, if I pass another 10,000, then I'm going to come against somebody just like him. What the writer is saying is, he's unique. There's no one like him. He's special. And if you've ever fallen in love, you'll have that feeling, won't you? Special. Special to me. Unique. There's something really, really, you can't put your finger on necessarily, and it's the sweetest of relationships. And I would say I've been married to Bessie now for what, 26 years, 27 years this year. You've probably done lots longer. I know I'm in your dream. But I think more of her now than I did when I first met her. So she hasn't become less special, she's become more special and more unique. That's how our relationships should grow, just like that. And this is in the Bible. It doesn't just describe this relationship between lovers in that sense. It's also used of God and his people. in that way. And God often talks about himself as being like a husband, and Israel as betrothed to him. And in the same way in the New Testament, it takes it a step further, and it says, well, this is like Jesus and his church, his people. There's a relationship which is so unique and so special because Jesus is so unique and so special. So I just wanted to just nail down a bit about this uniqueness of Jesus. And there's lots I could say here. I'm leaving out so much. Okay? The first thing about Jesus is this. He loves us because he loves us. He loves us because he loves us. You know, we might find certain characteristics in our loved ones that are endearing to us. You know, the way they do their hair, or the way they walk, or the turn and phrase that they use, or whatever it may be that endears us to our beloved, to our relationships. And relationships often start like that, but real love, as Keith alluded to, looks beyond that and sees something on the inside. You know, I'd say she or he might be the prettiest girl or bloke on the block, but then have an accident and their face is marked. Would that stop me from loving them? And when our Lord loves us, it's not because of the way we look, or because we're special and the sort of person that's ideal to be around. He loves us just because he loves us. He loves us. We're made in his image. He cares for us. And he has a love that's great for us. A hymn writer put it well and said, not because of good in me, just because he loves us. The second thing we learn about the love of Christ for the church, for his people, is that his love takes him to great lengths. You know, I've often told the story of when, I'm using a word which you all know, when Bess and I were courting. You don't hear that much these days, do you, that word? Bessie would drive miles out of her way to see me. What a sacrifice. But Jesus says this, greater love has no one than he laid down his life for his friend. But the Bible puts it one step further than that. While we were still enemies, Christ died for us. And his purpose in dying is to rescue us from the condemnation that is justly deserved by sinners who do things wrong and say things wrong and think things wrong and everything else. And on that cross, Jesus was taking willingly the punishment that I deserve in the place of me, in the place of me, in my place. At the cross, God was saying, this world is rotten, but I love people. But I love people. Lastly, Jesus' love is such that he wants the best for us. You know, to give a child everything that they ask for is going to ruin them, isn't it? If we have everything that we want, it's not good for us. Whatever people say, it's not good for us. We get spoiled, we get ungrateful, we get unthankful. But Jesus wants the best for us. And he wants us to have a relationship with himself. All relationships are built on trust, aren't they? They are, aren't they? If you can't You can't form any kind of deep relationship with them, can you, really? You can't trust their next action, what they're going to do. But Jesus you can trust 100% of the time. 100% of the time. No other person is trustworthy to that extent and that respect. So Jesus is worthy of our consideration and worthy of our love. He was uniquely the Son of God. He is uniquely the lover of sinners. And he will never, uniquely never, cast us out if we come to him. I can honestly say this. I have let him down on many occasions. And that's a sadness. And I've not spoken when I should have done, and that's a sadness as well. But he has never let me down once. And he never will, because he's always true to who he is, the lover of sinners. There is none like Jesus. He is the fairest of 10,000 and more besides. And oh, that I could more than commend him to you. Say, think about Jesus. Look to Jesus. He is the one who is worthy of our